Contaminated water in World War II killed more soldiers than entire battles. Troops weren't dying from enemy fire in many cases. They were dying from dysentery, cholera, and typhoid that turned safe camps into graveyards within days. Yet hidden in forgotten field manuals sits a brutally simple purification technique that saved countless lives, and most people today have no idea it exists. This method requires nothing more than dirt, fire, and charcoal. Every soldier fighting across the deserts of North Africa, through the jungles of the Pacific, and in the frozen forests of Europe depended on it when supply lines collapsed and purification tablets melted in the heat. The savage irony? We've completely forgotten how to do this, even though it could save your life tomorrow. Before we continue, subscribe to my channel for more interesting insights and forgotten moments from World War II. Let's go back to 1942. You're stationed in North Africa. The desert heat is relentless. Supply lines are stretched beyond breaking, and the water you just found looks like liquid mud. Dysentery has already torn through half your unit. Typhoid is waiting in the wings. Cholera could strike any moment. Your purification tablets melted yesterday. You have two choices. Drink that filthy water and risk joining the casualty list, or figure something else out. Soldiers chose survival, and they did it with a technique so effective that we still use the same principles today in modern water filters. The process started with a simple pit dug near any water source. Not just a random hole, but one positioned to let groundwater seep through layers of soil. The earth itself becomes your first defense, stripping away larger debris and some microorganisms as water moves through. This seepage process mimics what happens in a natural aquifer, where water slowly filters through sand and gravel, getting cleaner with every inch. The pit removes algae and suspended particles before the water ever reaches your canteen, protecting the next steps from being overwhelmed by sediment. But the real breakthrough was charcoal, not modern grilling briquettes loaded with accelerants and chemicals. This was pure charcoal scavenged from campfires, the kind you get from burning wood down to its carbon skeleton. Soldiers would crush this charcoal to increase its surface area, then add it directly to the water before boiling. The reason this matters comes down to chemistry that soldiers figured out through brutal necessity. Charcoal has a porous structure at the microscopic level that acts like millions of tiny traps. These pores capture impurities through a process called adsorption, where molecules stick to the carbon surface. The charcoal removes foul tastes and odors caused by organic decay. It captures chemical residues and certain toxins floating in the water. Some heavy metals get trapped in those microscopic pores. When you boil the water with charcoal mixed in, you're attacking contamination from two directions simultaneously. The heat destroys pathogens, while the charcoal absorbs the chemicals and waste those pathogens leave behind. A rolling boil for at least 1 minute was the standard, though most soldiers aimed for longer because their survival depended on getting it right. After boiling, they'd strain the water through a cloth to remove charcoal grit, leaving behind water that was visually clearer and exponentially safer to drink. The entire sequence follows what modern water treatment experts still call the gold standard: filter, absorb, sterilize. Physical filtration through the pit removes large particles. Chemical adsorption through the charcoal removes dissolved impurities. Heat sterilization through boiling destroys living pathogens. Both Allied and Axis forces used this method out of shared necessity. It wasn't classified information or some closely guarded military secret. It was practical field knowledge that spread soldier to soldier on the front lines. Pacific jungle fighters relied on it when supply chains collapsed. European troops used it when rivers ran thick with debris and contaminants. The technique required only materials that were almost always available: sand, gravel, charcoal, and fire. No supply chains needed, no waiting for a resupply drop, no hoping your chemical tablets survived the journey intact. The beauty of this method lies in its reliability. Water purification tablets could spoil in extreme heat, rendering them useless when you needed them most. But charcoal filtration was always ready. You could use your helmet or mess tin as an improvised boiling vessel. The skill required no formal education, only practical knowledge and careful execution. Any soldier, regardless of rank or background, could master this technique. And it worked so well that it significantly reduced the incidence of dysentery and helped prevent cholera and typhoid outbreaks that could have decimated entire units. This technique predates World War II by centuries. Ancient Egyptians used charcoal for water purification thousands of years ago. 19th century explorers relied on similar methods during expeditions. But World War II refined and widely disseminated this knowledge under conditions so brutal that every mistake could mean death. The method represents what engineers call appropriate technology, highly effective yet requiring minimal resources. Modern Brita filters sitting in refrigerators across the world use this exact same principle. Activated carbon filtration is just a corporate term for what soldiers were doing with campfire charcoal in 1943. The heat from creating the charcoal activates it, enhancing its ability to trap impurities. Hardwoods generally produce better, longer-lasting charcoal for filtration purposes. Soldiers were essentially creating crude activated carbon without understanding the molecular science behind it. They just knew it worked, and that knowledge kept them alive. Modern bushcraft enthusiasts have validated its effectiveness in side-by-side tests with contemporary filters. While not 100% as effective as a modern camping filter, it brings water to a safe enough standard for survival when nothing else is available. The US Army still teaches primitive water purification methods in its survival manuals because this technique remains viable. It requires zero financial investment. You can replicate it during a camping trip, in a survival scenario, or when your city's water system fails after a disaster. The technique adapts to whatever you have available. Scale it up for a group or down for a single person. Change the container and heat source based on your situation. This knowledge could save lives when infrastructure collapses, when natural disasters cut off clean water for weeks, or when you're stuck in the wilderness without modern equipment. What strikes me is how completely we've forgotten this. Most people today would panic if their tap stopped running, yet soldiers in the deadliest conflict in human history were converting muddy puddles into drinkable water, using nothing but dirt, fire, and charcoal. This method prevented more casualties than many advanced weapons systems. It kept armies functional in environments where waterborne diseases should have destroyed entire divisions. Soldiers' lives depended on properly executing this simple multi-step process, and a single mistake like using contaminated charcoal could render the effort useless. The technique works because it attacks water contamination on multiple fronts simultaneously. Physical filtration removes the visible threats. Chemical adsorption removes the dissolved dangers you can't see. Heat sterilization destroys the microscopic killers waiting to take you down. This multi-barrier approach remains the foundation of modern water treatment systems, from municipal plants to portable camping filters. The materials required, sand, gravel, charcoal, and fire, are almost universally available in any environment where humans find themselves. This knowledge was passed soldier to soldier, often verbally on the front lines, because it was too critical to keep locked in headquarters. It represents a triumph of human ingenuity over desperate circumstances. Mastering this skill today builds self-reliance and provides a tangible link to the lived experience of World War II soldiers who survived against brutal odds. The silence around this technique in modern times shows our disconnect from basic survival wisdom, our assumption that technology will always be there to save us. If that just changed how you think about survival and self-reliance, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this with someone who thinks modern technology has made basic skills obsolete. Because the real heroes of World War II weren't always the ones with the biggest weapons. Sometimes, They were the ones with the knowledge to turn a muddy puddle into life itself.